as real tests. There's already studies done on this. And 2, if you get an official diagnosis, you can't move to different countries. You can't move to different countries. You can visit, but you can't move there because they believe you're sucking all of their resources up. So fuck a diagnosis. It was my ex who was like, yeah, I think you're autistic, because she was diagnosed. And then I took the autism test. Like there was like a question on the autism test, which is like, what was the question? I think it was like, how would you like go about sailing across the world or something like that, or just like, and a neurotypical would just be like, I don't know, you get a boat and you do this. But then like an autistic answer is like, well, I would get a boat, then I would measure the circumference, then maybe Google Maps it, and it's like, no, we're pretty sure you're autistic, because a neurotypical would be like, I don't know. So am I giving advice on how we can work for ourselves? I'm not giving advice, I'm just talking. I don't give advice. I just am myself. I'm just here, one, because I'm releasing a new song in 2 days that I'm excited about, and I wanted to create a... Yeah, for the autism test thing, I just have a good... I think it's also an imposter syndrome that we feel. So like, it's okay for people to need an official diagnosis to get that validation. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. What would I like to de-influence the most? Everything. I want to de-influence everything. And you know, some of these things might be controversial. Like for example, de-influencing romance, especially for neurodivergent people. How much of us, and this is probably my just autistic brain speaking, but dude, we were sold romance by capitalism and by men. And I'm not claiming toxic masculinity or whatever, but like, why do we have wedding dresses and Valentine's Day and wedding rings that literally profit off of blood diamonds? You see what I mean? So de-influencing is just removing the influence of society and other influencers and other people that is causing you shame or causing you blockages in your life. That's it. It's like, hey, why do I feel like I don't really buy anything at malls, but I feel like when I go to a mall, I have to buy. So de-influencing is just changing your mindset about certain things. Thanks, Angela. I appreciate it. Check out Take Me Back Into the Night. That's a good one. Yeah, DK, romance is nothing like the movies. Romance is nothing like the movies. Also, if you're neurodivergent, you have a black and white, we all have black and white ways of looking at things, right? So imagine you have an autistic brain who starts fantasizing and catastrophizing, and you're watching Disney Channel growing up. What do you think is happening? Your nervous system and your body is like, oh, it goes black and white. God, if my family doesn't look like that in the Disney movies, I must be miserable. I must be unhappy. If my family, it's like, no, truth is every family is fucked up. Even neurotypical families are fucked up. They just don't, they're just not as sensitive as we are. You know, we're just more sensitive to how fucked up it really is. But neurotypicals are like, oh, it's fucked up, but it's okay. We're not that sensitive. We don't get it. I think romance is fabricated. I think relationships and codependency, and you know, I go to a lot of support groups, like 12-step groups, because I'm in recovery. So I think romance, yeah, I'm blowing y'all minds, huh? I think romance is fabricated, and I think codependency is fabricated, and I think this is we're about to get really controversial here. So tune in. I think that's a product of there's a correlation with sexuality, there's a correlation with orientation, with neurodivergence, right? Like people who are non-binary tend to be 100% neurodivergent. There are like studies, I'm not saying, don't quote me on this. There's studies online that show that there's a correlation. So I used to like identify as non-binary. And I dated somebody who identified as non-binary. And you know what I found? This is crazy. This might seem controversial, but hear me out before you judge. You know what we found? This girl, or non-binary person at the time, she's a girl now. She was so cool with me being in my feminine. She was so cool with me crying and like I would put on makeup. She was so cool with me being in my feminine, and I was so cool with her being in her masculine. You know, she would like have masculine clothes, that it finally gave me permission to feel feminine that my family didn't give me, because I had demand avoidance as a kid, as an autistic kid. Much of sexuality is demand avoidance. I'm blowing people's minds. She gave me so much permission that the demand avoidance to be non-binary, it went away. And then you know what the fuck we found? I found, because I finally got permission to be in my feminine, I actually preferred to be masculine. I actually preferred to fucking go out there, work, and like be the fucking go-getter. And she actually preferred to be in her feminine. She actually like loved washing the dishes for me, and like I would cook for her, and you know, I would buy the food and she would wash the dishes, and then, you know, she would massage me. And then I realized, wait a minute, being non-binary for me, I'm not talking about everybody else. I'm not hypothesizing. I'm not putting a theory out. I just found out that for me, when the demand avoidance went away and I got permission to be feminine, I actually felt safer to play a masculine role, which is what like we have to be careful. There's a nuance here, right? We're not going to the conservative, like men just have to be the providers and women just have to stay at home and cook. That's not what I'm saying. We're not going into that whole bullshit. But I'm just saying, yeah, I felt safer to be in my masculine, and the girl felt safer to be in her feminine. And over time, I was just like, holy shit. This whole time, I was just rebelling against society, and I didn't even know it. Demand avoidance, it could either be an instinct, you know, like a tendency or a habit, or it can be pathological for certain autistic people. So I was pathological, right? Like my parents would tell me, go to church when I was young, and I'd be like, why? I don't want to. Every time, or like brushing my teeth felt like a demand. So sometimes I didn't want to brush my teeth. Or going to school, sometimes I didn't, like anything and everything that could feel like a demand was like, no, we're not doing that. So even sexuality can feel like a demand. Like I have to perform as a man, or I have to do this. There's so many of these invisible things happening. Masculine, feminine energy for me is social construction. Sure, yeah, for sure. But for me, like masculine energy is like penetrative. It's like the penis, right? It's like, I'm here to fucking penetrate the world with my gifts. I'm here to penetrate the world with my music. I'm here to fuck the world, basically, and give it value. And then the feminine energy is to receive. And we have both energies within us. But I found there's a correlation with being non-binary and like, you know, demand avoidance. So then de-influencing romance, to go back to romance, is like unlearning all of these capitalistic things that we were taught, and then learning that, wait a minute, when the demand avoidance goes away, and there's all these nuances, right? All of the trauma and experiences and so much psychological things to actually get into. But when you take all of these things away, men and women, let's say neurotypical men and women, without all the demand avoidance, without all the extra sensitivities and traumas, men and women, neurotypical, standard, normal, boring normies, they mate completely differently. And women have different needs and different mating strategies than men. And this is why and all of the lies that we've been told with romance, there's just this, you know, I'm getting hyped. Especially like all the rom-com movies, or like, why do you think all the superhero movies, right? Superhero movies. Why do you think it's the same story every time? The loser who can't get women gets superpowers, and then finally attracts the main woman, but then the main woman still leaves. Like Spider-Man. Spider-Man was a cook. He was a nerd who couldn't get laid. He couldn't get women. He got superpowers, and then he attracted Mary Jane. But Mary Jane still chose somebody else over him. Like, every superhero movie is probably written by an autistic person who's like, God, wouldn't it be nice if we got superpowers and we got manly, and then people like... So everything we've been taught in society, it's all of these things, it's just not healthy. I could give a whole lecture on this. Do y'all have any questions? Call me Professor Aria. What's up, Alasia? What's up, Lisa? I think men and women just talk differently. Do y'all want me to talk about building self-esteem? I think DKO asked that question. How did I learn to make music? So me being autistic, music was my first memory. I had so much trauma growing up that I don't really remember much. But I saw Linkin Park. It's my first memory of life. And if I'm gonna die, that's how I'm gonna die. Because I've already been homeless. I've already, you know, when I was home, it was just crazy. I'm not gonna go into it because I'm not here for a pity story. And but that it was a very hard time. So that's why I sing and write songs. Thanks, Abir. Gregory. Why is the algorithm insane? Okay. Who wants me to talk about building self-esteem? Do y'all want me to talk about that? I know DKO wants it, but who else? If one more person says it, then I'll talk about it. Read recently that we hyperfixate on beauty standards because we can change our looks, but not our ND. Sure. Changing our looks, like I got better looking. Honestly, this is why it's so weird, because I actually have a personality, because I grew up as a fat and chubby kid. I was a fat and chubby kid. I was insecure. I couldn't, you know. Please talk about building self-esteem. Okay. Building self-esteem. Where do we begin? Do y'all have any like questions about building self-esteem? Is there anything in particular? There's just so much to talk about. And I do workshops on this too. But I don't have any. I don't have any planned right now. Self-esteem. What is the foundation we should strive for when building self-esteem? From yourself, from your own mind. Building self-esteem. I think a person with great self-esteem is not volatile and unbreakable. Kate, you said sometimes I feel like I'm super confident, but then in certain scenarios, I just feel terrified. So, okay. If I had to sum it up in one word, I could do so many lessons on this. I could do lectures on this shit. Self-esteem for me is radical self-acceptance for all your demons and insecurities. To me, the confident person, and like this is what Laura, right? Like you said, you feel super confident in certain scenarios, but then other scenarios you just feel terrified. Then that confidence isn't real confidence. That's not, if you're only feeling confident in certain scenarios where you're going to be admired, but then in certain scenarios where you're not going to be admired, that's not real confidence then. If you feel terrified, for me, self-esteem is just complete radical self-acceptance of your emotions and who you are. Having high worth of who you are and what you do. Chungus, what's up, Chungus? You came to my best friend's coffee shop and I almost came in to try and prick. Whoa, which coffee shop? Okay, what's up, Chungus? That's cool. Sorry. I tell you, I get embarrassed I'm not used to it, bro. I tell you, even when I go to airports, people recognize me. I'm just like, God damn it. I mean, feel free to say hi, but it's just the autistic fear of being seen, I guess. I'm like, well, I'm not afraid of being seen. I'm like, I'm just not comfortable with it because I tend to be a more private person. But okay, serious face. Building self. It's nice to meet you, Chungus. That's so weird. Okay. That threw me off. I was like, oh shit. Okay, somebody was like, yeah, Luca's here. Come ask him questions. So building self-esteem for me is just radical self-acceptance. Yes, not going to be admired. It's where I feel unknown. I'll be verbally attacked. So to me, a confident person doesn't try to be their best. They're the best. A confident person is, right? Like a confident person is like, hey, I felt hurt by that comment, or I felt hurt by this. It's like, if you speak wrong. I'm having so many thoughts at the moment. I'm like having trouble. It's like, do I go this way? Do I go this way? Sorry, my autistic brain is just going crazy. Feel free to ask me questions to derail me. I just care about not being attacked. Yeah. Building self-esteem. So for me, can y'all define what you mean by self-esteem? Do you mean by self-worth? Follow your heart, and what do you want? Yes. Hold on, let me look this up real quick. Self-esteem, confidence. There you go. Confidence in one's own worth or abilities. Self-respect. How can we feel like we're enough just as we are, I guess? What do you normally feel, Kate? It's gonna be more helpful if someone continues to write back to me so that I can engage one-to-one. Feeling good enough, okay. So what if, okay, perfect, fucking brilliant. What if you let go of the idea of feeling good enough? And what if for the first time in your fucking lives, tune in, tap in. For the first time in your lives, you give yourself permission to feel hopeless about feeling good enough. Because some of y'all are running away from the hopelessness. This is something when I was teaching a course and I was doing workshops, it sounds really scary because it feels like it's gonna stop you. It feels like I should have hope. Here's the thing. When I was homeless and how I went from selective mute and very unconfident, very insecure. And in ways I still feel insecure at times, you know? When you allow yourself to accept that it's hopeless, that you might not change. JW, come on. It's up to you. I'm not here to fucking give you advice. I'm just telling you what worked for me. Give yourself permission to feel empathy for yourself and to feel hopeless. And then before you jump to conclusions, JWS, and other people jump into conclusions, if it was entirely hopeless and you could never feel good enough, who would you become? How would you live your life? So I did this, right? Like I would listen to very sad music and I would purge the nervous system, because the nervous system, again, I talked about in the other live, your nervous system takes pictures. It remembers, the body keeps the score. Dr. Besser Vanderkolk talked about this. Like if a soldier who has PTSD goes to war, sees all of his friends gets killed, his nervous system takes a picture, and now every time he goes out into the bus and he hears a loud sound, oh God, there's a grenade. He has an emotional flashback. Right? So your nervous system remembers, your nervous system takes pictures, right? So you have to purge the trauma out of your nervous system by finally feeling those trapped emotions in your body. When you feel hopeless, it's not you, it's your inner child from your younger self. Your younger self felt like a monster, maybe because they felt like they were not good enough for their family, for their friends, for their parents. They felt rejected by your mom or your dad. You didn't feel like you belonged with your friend group, or you were constantly ostracized, constantly not feeling like you don't belong. So what happens? Your inner child feels hopeless about ever feeling good enough. But your adult self is here. I have to keep trying. I have to read all this self-help book. I have to work on myself. Now, there's a duality, right? There's a paradox to this. You're going to spend your entire life improving. Of course, we're human beings. But at the second time, So do we give moments of time every day to feel these negative moments like twice a day? It's up to you to build this relationship with yourself. I highly suggest, I had a meditation out, but this is actually part of the intention for my music, Take Me Back Into the Night, right? So if you listen to that, not to fucking promote my song right now, but I'm gonna play my song, right? He knows I should call it better. Not IFS is cool. I fuck with IFS. I've also tried that. So feeling and releasing those emotions are important. And with to feel good enough when you don't accept your inner child. When you don't develop a relationship with your inner child. Your inner never got a chance to. What's up, Han? Appreciate you. Glad that you're here. Thanks, Javi. Dozens and dozens of books and workshops and I was just like, and I taught myself. And I found my own formula that works for me as a neurodivergent people. Also, I fucking taught autistic kids, level 2 and level 3 high support needs. And the way that I talk to them and what worked for them, I realized that's how I had to talk to my inner child because I'm autistic too. So we need our own programming. But to me, again, if y'all think about celebrities. Think about when they win an Oscar or an award. What do they go up on the stage? What do they do? Timothy Chalamet, Billie Eilish. The first thing they did is, I feel so nervous being here. I don't feel like I deserve this. Why is that so confident? Because they fucking own how insecure they feel. So a confident person is not invulnerable. In fact, confidence is about complete vulnerability. It's not invulnerable. It's like, hey, I feel insecure about this thing. And they accept the reward. Like, I don't deserve this. That's confidence. I felt hurt by what you did. Or I felt hurt by this thing. Or I feel rejected right now. I felt abandoned when you did that. Sometimes I feel rejected when people fuck with the wisdom, but they don't fuck with my music. That's confidence to me. That's high self-esteem. That's high self-worth. It means like no matter what happens, no matter if you're not like, let's say your skills don't match up to the environment, people know that they can feel you can pick yourself up. I'm grateful that you're sharing. Yeah. Which is why the number one thing that worked for me, and this is some of you don't have to follow this advice. Only try it if you're strong. If you're not a strong person, don't try it. If you feel terrified, don't try it. Listen to my song, Take Me Back Into the Night, or any other song that gets you sad, and just accept the hopelessness. Give your inner child permission to feel hopeless. Like, hey, you may never feel good enough. You may never feel accepted. You might always feel terrified of this thing. You might always feel ugly. You might always feel depressed. But you know what? I got you. You're allowed to feel depressed in this body. And let your inner child take over your body. And you'll see, oh my God, really? My mom said I couldn't be depressed. My dad said, let your inner child take over your body and say you have every permission to feel hopeless. You don't have to try this out. I'm just telling you what worked for me. I allowed myself to feel hopeless. And then after I felt hopeless, I wrote a list. Okay, if I'm hopeless, if it feels hopeless, who do I want to become? I've completely accepted that it's hopeless. And I wrote, okay, Luca Aria is a fucking rock star. He says whatever the fuck is on his mind. If he's horny, he says it. He also wants to serve people, but he's kind of a badass and he does these things. And literally I was like, well, you know what? If I'm never going to be accepted by people, I'm going to become this person because it doesn't fucking matter anyways. And guess what? Is that just another form of masking? No. Authenticity, it doesn't, so there's a paradox, right? Yes, I love Julian himself. Huge fan. Yeah, it's not masking. Authenticity, it means what sensations are coming up for you in your body, right? Exactly, it's self-actualization. What sensations, what emotions? You're not creating a persona. That's not what you're doing. You're not creating another persona. Yeah, I fuck with him. I agree with a lot of the things that he says, shadow work and stuff. But it's especially if any of you who are into spirituality, like non-dual spirituality or Buddhism or all of these things, there's a lot of spiritual seekers spend their whole lives seeking for enlightenment. They spend decades and decades and decades and decades. But there's a lot of resistance to enlightenment. The resistance comes from the hopelessness that they feel. People are running away from their hopelessness of their life, and they're escaping into fantasies. If you actually give yourself permission to feel the hopelessness and to let it go and to accept it in your body, and you're gonna grieve. It's gonna be ugly. You're gonna grieve. And then you ask yourself, what now? Who do I become now? What do I want for my life now? You will find so much unbreakable strength. Don't do this if you don't feel like it's not for you, or if you're not strong enough. Because not everybody can do it. It's hard. Hopelessness is resistance. Everybody in the world is trying to feel good enough. They want more money so that they feel good enough. They want more clout so that they feel good enough. They want more pussy. They want more relationships. They want more whatever. They want more sex. They want more abundance, to feel good enough. But feeling like abundance only comes when you feel good enough. It doesn't come to get it. What's up, Aaliyah? You want me to keep talking about self-esteem? What answer is it that you're wanting to hear? Honestly, what would give you comfort right now? Are you asking me that, or are you asking other people that? Just de-influencing is just unlearning the influences of certain societies, like de-influencing romance, de-influencing neurotypical standards, right? Basically unlearning shit. De-influencing is just unlearning. Unlearning shit that you learned that we have black and white thinking with because we're neurodivergent. What's up, Heather? I've already been talking about it for I just created a conversation. What do I want to unlearn and why? I want to unlearn everything that isn't true to me. I bobbed up twice on my feed. Okay, cool. JW, what are you doing? I'm not here to be on the top of the mountain shouting down like a fucking idiot. Get out of here with that bullshit. What a dumbass question. So, getting back to the point. Blocked. Just block that dude. I fundamentally believe whatever it is that you want to do, if you're going to teach people or whatever, you just have to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of the same people who's on the same journey as you. That's it. You don't have to be on this top of the mountain bullshit that people are like, oh, you need certification or you need all this. Like, no, you don't need any of that. You need experience and will. Sitting with those feelings of worthlessness and finally releasing it from your body and your nervous system, that will change your life. Yes, I believe in God. That will change your life. Dikyo and everybody else. When you actually sit there and release those pictures, those traumas that your nervous system remembers of feeling unworthy, and you finally build a relationship with your inner child, it will change your life. I promise you. I promise you it will change your life. Do it for you. Don't do it for me. Don't do it because if you do it for me, then it's my win. And I don't want it to be my win. I want it to be your fucking win. So with being neurodivergent, sometimes we get, specific about certain things. What do you mean by letting go? What's your exact definition of letting go? Hell yeah, 2012 is gonna be your year for sure. Thanks for the liking. Thanks for the likes, Tiff. Thanks to everybody who's liking this live. Yeah, we made it to 10,000 likes. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what that means. Thanks, Kate. I appreciate it. What's up, Eric? It's so important to just radically accept ourselves and release these things from our nervous system. If there's negative emotional thought patterns that you can't release, it's probably because you're still intellectualizing stuff. You have to release it from the body. You haven't felt the pain yet because the pain is going over and over and over and over and over and over. I'm not enough, I'm not enough, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy. You have to release it from the body, and then once that emotional pull, then you can do the intellectualizing and the meditating and okay, I gotta watch my thoughts. But the people who spend their whole lives just watching their thoughts, trying not to feel insecure or unworthy, it's a lifelong game, and you're gonna spend decades trying to do this. If you have a constant repeating negative emotion or negative thought and pattern, you gotta figure out why the hell that you have that. What is the deep sign that is supposed to take up space and be a performer? That's all I'll say. My Chiron is here to sing. Thanks, Tiff. It's a short song, but I'm excited. Did I ever struggle with being perceived? Yes, I struggled with being perceived all my life. I was selective mute growing up. Matthew, I already know what sign that is. If you do inner child work and you do the opposite of that, so how do you talk to your inner child? How do you talk to yourself? Oh, okay, DQ, it's astrology. So you go up and go to Google and type in astral chart and put your birth date and your information. You don't have to look at the sun sign and all the crazy stuff, but if you look at your Chiron, it'll be at a certain planet in a certain house. It'll tell you one of your deepest wounds. If you do shadow work on that deepest wound, you will level up your life tremendously. And your Lilith too, but Chiron's first. Anyone who knows astrology, let me know what's up. Am I blowing your mind? Not looking me up, looking to see 606. I don't know what 606 means. All right, get out of here, Matthew. Go to fucking work. Thanks for being here. I'm just joking. How do I put myself out there in social media despite the fear of being perceived? You do it while you're afraid. Just like the way that I did this live and other lives. Do it while you're afraid. Talk to your inner child, develop a relationship with your inner child, and give them permission to feel rejected, and give them permission to say, I don't know how long some of y'all are sticking around. You can go if you need to, but the fear of being perceived, you're gonna wind me up to a new fucking topic. Okay? The fear of being perceived is the fear of being exposed. The fear of being perceived is the fear of being exposed. Because some part of you wants to hide. You feel like you're not worthy. You feel like you did so many unspeakable things. You feel like maybe you're secretly cringy, or you feel like you've done a lot of shameful things in your past, and God, somebody's gonna find out. So your fear of being perceived is your fear of being exposed. And you don't actually care about what people think about you. You care about what you think about you. So you're scared of the way that you perceive yourself. You're scared of the way that people perceive yourself. So for example, if you're 6'6" and someone was like, bro, you're short as fuck, would you get triggered by that? I mean, write the answer. Would you get triggered by that? If you were 6'6" and someone's like, dude, you're short as hell. You wouldn't, right? You'd be like, what are you talking about? I'm tall. Or if you're, you have lots of money and you're like, dude, you're so broke. You wouldn't be triggered by that. But then when somebody says something like, oh, I don't like you, or maybe you don't do this the right way, or don't do this, and then you get triggered. You only get triggered because some part of you believes it's true. You only get triggered because some fucking part of you believes it's true. And if you believe it's true, it's because you're thinking it first. So you don't actually care what anyone thinks. You care what you think of you. The fear of being perceived is like, God, what if other people see me and they find out I'm a fraud, or I'm cringy, or I'm not good enough, or they reject me, or I don't get any views, or... No. You actually think, what if I am cringy? What if I am not worthy? What if I am not a good singer, or not a good artist, or not a good fucking social media person? What if I'm not this? You don't care. But that example, if you were 6'6" and someone said, hey, you're short, you wouldn't be offended. If you were rich and said, you're so broke, you'd laugh. You would laugh at the comment. Just like when people roast me or like hate on me on the comments and be like, say some stupid shit on this live and I just block them or I ignore it. It doesn't bother me because I know it's not true. What house, Dikyo? What house? That is the house of dating, sex, creativity, and kids and children. Maybe that's why you probably can't tap into your inner child too. Ooh, shit. So your Capricorn's in the 5th house. That means you have a deep, deep, deep wound. Being a Capricorn, being a fucking, I have to work to get love, to work to get sex, work to get my creativity. I have to work steadily, or if I'm not enough. Is this resonating? Is this blowing your mind? Heal that wound. Spend a few months healing that wound. That will change your life. Damn, we're talking about mysticism now. Y'all already got me fucking cooked. How can I get that without work? I don't know I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Do I recognize the things that could trigger me and heal before posting online? Or what if you just give yourself permission to feel rejected and pursue things that you're not going to be admired from at the start? As an artist, how do I suggest dealing with being a perfectionist? 1, you stop calling yourself a perfectionist. Stop using that label. Stop labeling yourself as a perfectionist. 2, thanks, Tiff. It's just self-esteem. That's okay. Labels are cool. How, as an artist, do you suggest dealing with being a perfectionist? Again, I keep preaching the inner child, but like, if you allow yourself to feel, or like, oh my God, you're always great. You're always great. We always loved Luca. I'm like, no, you didn't. Yeah, Dochi's amazing. She deserves it. She deserves all the success. I love her growls. Bro. Amazing. Amazing expression. She's basically, and that's why why do you think neurodivergent people want to either be entrepreneurs because they want to live their own lives, or they want to be artists? Those are like the 2 big ones. They want to be an actor or a musician, or because those are the only 2 lives you can be unmasked. Like Doechie's is completely fucking unmasked. In her music, she's unmasked. She's like, you know, like that's the dream with music. That's why we do it. What's up, Chels? This has been really fun. What time is it? Oh, it's 4:20. Oh, she got it from DMX? That's cool, I didn't know that. What's up, Toodle Pippins? Toodaloo. Okay, y'all, my energy levels are dipping, and that is a sign for me to respect myself, which means I am gonna go. Thanks for hanging out. I hope